Hello, dear friends. It's Carly Wharton, and welcome back to Owning Authenticity. In this video slash episode, we are talking about Venus conjunct Pluto. Now, if you're a total astro newbie and not familiar with aspects or transits, let me spend just a moment to unpack that a little bit. Very simply put, transits are the planets at any given time, as opposed to natal placements being at the time of your birth. So the transits are constantly moving. The planets themselves are constantly in motion. So as they move, it affects the energy of the collective. So these transits that are happening now and all the time, they are kind of like underlying currents of energy that exist for all of us. And depending on the energy that each of us carries, how it affects each of us will be different. It depends on, if it's something that falls right on your rising sign, or it's happening right by your moon sign, or all of these different things can make it affect each of us on an individual level, even though these are collective transitory energies that we're talking about. So that explains transits. Conjunct. So Venus conjunct Pluto. That means that there are two planets, Venus and Pluto. Conjunct means next to each other. So a conjunction implies that the planets are really close to the same exact point in the sky. Obviously, all the planets are not actually sitting together at the same point in the sky. It's more like they are lined up in the orbit at the same point in that sign, in that zodiac sign, that same chunk of the sky. So that's what we have happening is Venus is coming up to cuddle up to Pluto in Capricorn. And that is not unusual. This happens about every year, give or take. And so that's not unusual. Venus makes a lap around the planet or around the sky in about a year. So Pluto is basically sitting there, been in Capricorn since 2008. Yes, November 27th, 2008, Pluto entered Capricorn. So it's just sitting there, and once a year, Venus comes around and we have this conjunction. However, about every other year, there is a retrograde thrown in to the mix where Venus slows and comes to a stop and then retrogrades, meaning moving backwards. And so that's what's happening this coming November, December, January, February, March. Venus is coming up to Pluto, stopping, retrograding away from Pluto, and then going direct, meaning moving forward again and coming back to Pluto. So Venus and Pluto are going to be in this dance for the next several months. The exact dates, for those of you who are curious, November 22nd through January 13th. And that's when it's going on its retrograde or its backwards path away from Pluto. And for just about a month, it goes out of range, where Venus is still in Capricorn. So they're technically still in the same sign, which I think has its own impact all by itself. But it is too far apart to be called a classic conjunction, which really, even in a liberal conjunction, is only about 10 degrees. So they have to be within 10 degrees of each other. So this dance that's happening back and forth, Venus moving all around Pluto, and what does that mean? A conjunction alone doesn't imply meaning. It just means that two planets are sitting next to each other. In order to understand what it actually means, we digest both planets separately and then put them together to create a narrative around what does this energy actually mean. So to start off with, we'll look at Venus, Pluto, and Capricorn, because all three of these are adding their own flavor to this energy that's coming, that we're going to be with for a decently extended period. I mean, a few months as far as transits go, that's decently long. It's not years and years like sometimes you see in transits, but yeah, so to have a certain energy hanging around for 3 months, let's understand what that energy is and hopefully how we can work with the energy and not fall victim to perhaps some turbulence that might be headed our way. Turbulence that is ultimately to serve our highest good. So, never to be scared about any of these energies. All of the transitory energies that I will ever interpret, because this is how I believe they all work, all of it will always be serving our highest good. We're here in the physical form to evolve as souls, and every single circumstance that we encounter in our lives helps us to evolve. There's reason and meaning to all things. And that might just be the story I tell myself to help myself feel better, but I'll tell you what, I feel better. So take it or leave it. So we'll dive right into Venus. Venus is, I actually have a whole video about Venus. So if you're interested in a deeper dive look at that archetype, by all means, check that out. Venus is often referred to as the planet of love, and it is, but not solely in the sense of romantic love. For example, it's also what we value and how we decide what we love. Decide being a loose use of that word, because love, as we probably all understand, happens at a deeper level than our conscious reasoning process. However, the framework for how we love and what we value and how our value system translates into the decisions that we make on a daily basis, all of that can be understood by unpacking Venus in our personal natal chart. So understanding your own Venus energy lets you know what you value, what you're likely to value, the shape and color of your value structure, how rigid you are, how flexible you are, how conservative, how liberal, like all of those, and not necessarily only in a political sense, more like risk taking or risk averse, like all of those kinds of values can be understood through our Venus placement. It can at least paint a big part of that picture. So looking at what sign it's in, what house it's in, what aspects it's making to other planets in your chart, all of that can help understand your personal Venus energy. That being said, Venus as a planet continues to move through the signs. It spends about a month per sign. And so it scoots right along as it makes a lap around the zodiac in about a year. So while we have this extended period of Venus moving through Capricorn and kind of getting to the end of Capricorn and then going back to the beginning of Capricorn and then moving again through Capricorn, so much of our Capricorn energy and our Venus energy. And we know that our Venus is showing us what we value, our value system. And even one step further than that, because really at the base of our value system is our own self-valuation. And this is my favorite part of Venus, is that the base of our values is what we think of ourselves, how we evaluate and give ourselves a valuation. So what is our worth? How do we decide? And how do we rate our own worth? And if that is low, then life reflects that to us. Our relationships reflect it, our job reflects it, our boss reflects it to us. Life circumstances in general reflect that we don't think very highly of ourselves, and our life looks like that. And that is where we step into this Capricorn piece, where Capricorn as an archetype, that video is coming soon. Capricorn represents our great work. our legacy, our imprint, our physical mark that we want to make on the world, whatever that looks like, right? There's mountains all over the planet. Which one are you going to climb in your lifetime? That is a finite amount of time. You couldn't possibly do everything that a human could ever do. So we have to choose. We have to decide how to choose what our great work will be and what will be left behind when we are no longer here in the physical. And that Capricornian sense of building a structure that will be left behind once you're no longer physical. We all subconsciously do this every day. We have a facet of our personality that desires to do something that is worthwhile, that is going to make a difference, and a positive one, hopefully. That's that Capricornian determination and drive and hunger to leave a mark on the world. So these two things are separate. Venus and Capricorn, they have their own agendas. Venus wants us to be calm. Venus wants us to experience inner stillness and peace, and by immersing ourselves in beauty and aesthetically pleasing things, we achieve like a lower blood pressure, a lower heart rate, a calmer state of being. And in that calm state, inspiration can flow more easily. That's why Venus is also like the goddess of the arts. Capricorn wants us to accomplish a legacy. So these are two very different energies. However, we have Venus right now going to spend the next few months moving back and forth through Capricorn. So we'll bring those together in a second. The last piece of this that we need to bring into the conversation is Pluto. So Pluto represents intense transformation. So think butterflies. For a butterfly to exist, a caterpillar had to live a whole life as a caterpillar, had to survive its life as a caterpillar, and then it had to make its cocoon so that it could get in there, and then it turns to goo, and it stays goo for a minute, and then it reforms as a butterfly, and once it's formed, it comes out of the cocoon, and it has a second life as a butterfly. That is the essential nature of Plutonian soul level transformation. That happens. That is Pluto's goal, is that we will become the butterfly. And the thing about that is, another symbolism for Pluto is the phoenix rising from the ashes. So, imagine being burned to ash and then re-emerging as your next thing. And that, again, is the nature of Plutonian transformation, where the old must be removed, period. Like you can't be the old thing and the new thing. The caterpillar can't stay a caterpillar and become a butterfly. So as humans, we can tend to hang on to, like, we see the caterpillar becoming goo and we think, oh my goodness, how do I fix this? Instead of allowing the caterpillar to be goo, to allow that transformation and to trust that on the other side, there is something that, like, if your current reality is dissolving, you can trust that that is meant to happen and that there is something that is ready to come forward and be your reality. That, the caterpillar can't stay the caterpillar and become the butterfly, period. It has to be an evolution, a transformation. So that's Pluto. So Pluto is aiming for like the most startling before and after photo you've ever seen. That's Pluto's goal. So what do we get when we bring these three pieces together? Pluto, Venus, and Capricorn. We get our own self-valuation. which is our basis of our Venus value system, we get the universe picking that up, Pluto picking that up and amplifying it, magnifying it, and then showing it to us in all of our life experiences during this time. So if you have a performance review, your boss is going to be embodying this energy of wanting to reflect not what they think of you, but what you think of you. And, relationships will be front and center because this act of having that reflection that will trigger, it'll bring to the surface what you think of yourself. And it's going to say it out loud to you. So if you've been subconsciously beating up on yourself or even consciously beating up on yourself and thinking harmful, negative thoughts about yourself, you have been chipping away at your self-esteem with the thoughts that you're thinking. This is a time where other people will begin saying those things to you out loud, to your face. And that can be painful, right? Like when we have the worst thoughts that we think of ourselves, we're confronted with that from someone else, you know. So a lot of times it's usually even someone that you really respect. And now it's like, oh God, dagger right to my heart. Um, but it's important to keep in mind that it is a reflection. It isn't them. They are a cooperative component to your healing, and your healing requires that you become aware of your own limiting patterns of thought. And if you do still hold limiting patterns of thought, which I'm going to lovingly say that we all do, myself included, myself at the front of the line, I'm healing things. I'm actively working on, building healthier patterns for myself, but I do still hold some negative momentum, some old patterns of thought that I am trying to let go of, but they're still in there, little fragments, because, this is kind of a soapbox moment that I can get on, and I'm going to try not to stay up here for too long. But I don't think that we're ever fully healed as a soul, or especially as a human. I don't know that fully healed is even a realistic thing to shoot for. So it's more like a little bit more healed and a little bit more healed and a little bit more healed. So this season of, end of November on into December, January, February, March, all of this, where life is just going to be one giant mirror for the relationship that we have with ourselves. So the relationship between me and myself will be magnified and reflected to me in every single person that I encounter. And knowing that, I'm honestly really excited. I'm excited to see the good. I'm really excited to see the good. I want to make special note of the good. Any compliments that I received during this time, any gestures of love that just like really make me feel seen and like loved. Um, but also I do want to expect to carve out some time for some shadow work and some reflection and contemplation for any of the negative that gets reflected to me that I might encounter, which, like I said, we all have these little fragments. So I think we can all expect some level of being shown where we are still holding ourselves back. Because as we put Venus and Capricorn together, it's like that's a very serious placement where our value system is calibrated to line up with our, like, what we're building on a daily basis to leave behind when we're gone. So it reminds me of, the mass resignation that's happening in the world right now, people quitting their jobs. that's a very interesting thing. And economists and politicians and everybody else is already shocked with how high the resignation rates have become. And I would imagine that this season of Venus conjunct Pluto is going to bring another huge influx of people deciding that how they're spending their energy, their finite, precious, most valuable resource we have, energy, that they're putting it into something that does not match with their own value system, that they don't see the long-term potential in the way that they're spending their precious energy. It's just not worth it. The bottom line of Venus and Capricorn is that we have a very clear sense of what isn't worth it. And so, I mean, this whole Venus and Capricorn letting us see so clearly what's not worth it, and Pluto wanting to make like a really radical transformation, I see lots of people letting go of things that no longer serve them. And like I said, like that's a really, really exciting thing. It could be a tumultuous season, no doubt about it. And the less you like change, the rockier the road is going to be. But as much as we can possibly lean into, all of this change is for our highest good. Like it's not the universe out to get us. It's not the people closest to us that we love the most, that we respect the most, that, they're not attacking us. They are helping us to see where we are standing in our own way. They are magnifying our energy for the benefit of us so that we can be aware and we can chip away at patterns that no longer serve us. This is a powerful energy, like a gigantic mirror, like a carnival funhouse mirror that just exaggerates every little blemish, every little piece of your own energy that is misaligned with your value system. And when I say your value system, I'm talking about your soul's value system. That's what your Venus placement is going to teach you about, is your soul's value system. So matching up your soul's value system with the great work that your soul came forward knowing that it would get to create. And Pluto, like a stick of dynamite, providing all the power you could ever need to complete this transformation successfully. So if that doesn't sound exciting, you're probably on the wrong channel. Um, I'm being facetious. I'm glad you're here. So glad that you're listening, that you're open to hearing me, and I appreciate your energy. And I hope that this gives you a basis for writing out what is probably going to be a nice little tidal wave of energy moving through our lives, a transformative energy that's going to carry us along and bring us closer to who we came here to be. So thank you so much. Until next time, you take good care of yourself, and so will I.